with a big stand like Stone Cold with a few beers. Play the game, I end the game, I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker, bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho, heel turn like I'm muscle. If you suffer like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the vein, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you wait down with that, then I got two words for you, suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up.
Welcome everyone to your longest running Australian wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. I'm your host, Todd Eastman. Hope you enjoyed local professional wrestling this past weekend. This local Australian professional wrestling, you had plenty of it to choose from. If you were in Melbourne, I hope you checked out Ballroom Brawl. If you are in Sydney, I hope you checked out PWA. Yeah, hell, if you're in Australia, I hope you checked out PWA on Fight TV and checked out the live stream of the show. I'm absolutely loving the fact now that we get to see live Australian wrestling streamed to your homes, being that you're able to watch. I'm able to watch regular PWA and MCW shows. MCW not so much live stream because they do it a couple of days later and it's up on the on-demand. But still, the fact that we get to see live or live to tape just a few days later Australian wrestling from two of the best feds in the country is an amazing step forward. I'm so happy that it's happening, and I'm so glad the level of wrestling on these shows too is absolutely amazing. And for me, the MVP of Australian professional wrestling this past weekend was Jessica Troy, because she had two absolute cracking matches, one against Charlie Evans and the second one against Kellyanne. Both of those two feds, 2 nights in a row, just proving once again what I always have been saying for the longest time. She's one of the top 5 wrestlers in this country at the moment, and proving it week after week anytime you get to see her on TV or live, really, because that's really the best way to see professional wrestling is live. Like I always say, if you get a chance, go and check it out. Go and support professional wrestling in this country. Also, Deathmatch Down Under there, because this is Thursday night. I'm recording this intro. Their show Sandcastles went up live on IWTV this morning, I believe it was. So please go and check that out if you haven't already. A great match on that card is my guest this week, Robbie Eagles. He had a match against Mark Davis on that card. I haven't actually got the chance to see it yet. I am going to watch it as soon as I finish recording this. So I'll probably talk about that on next week's episode. But yeah, I had a great talk with Robbie all about New Japan, the stuff he went through with just like having to quarantine and all that sort of stuff, and then the stuff he does now in Australia, being that he's not, well, I say stuck here because we are at the moment. We're all stuck here. We're all landlocked because we can't really get away across to other parts of the world. But the fact that he's taking advantage of that by trying to travel to as many places as possible, not only wrestling, but also helping train the younger up-and-coming wrestlers in this country. And it's great to see. It's great to see guys like Robbie, like Mick Moretti, plenty of others that go to these other feds around the country and also do seminars to help teach the next generation of professional wrestling in this country. So without that further ado, normally I do a views from you. I'm not going to do it this week because the one I was going to do is actually going to be part of next week's show. So instead of doing it now and sort of doing a small little snippet of a thing, I'll do it next week. I'll explain I'll explain who the guest is next week after this interview with Robbie Eagles right here on Wrestle Radio Australia.
3 Count Academy in Brisbane are having PWA's own The Rapscallion Mick Moretti for 3 wrestling seminars on Wednesday the 7th, Thursday the 8th and Saturday the 10th of April. Wednesday being an open skilled level session, Thursday an advanced session, and on Saturday is for beginners. Price for non-members is $55 for 1 session or $100 for 2, or discuss joining the Academy and learn regularly from Dunkzilla Mark Davis. Please contact 3 Count Academy via their Facebook page or by email at admin@3countfitness.com to register your interest. Limited spots are available, so get in quick to learn from one of the best in the country today.
New Japan's own, PWA's own, Australia's own, Robbie Eagles. How are you today, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, Todd. It's great to be back on the show. I don't know how many times I've been on this show. Maybe this is the third, maybe the fourth, if I'm correct. But somewhere
Probably.
there. Either way, I'm at the top in terms of consecutive guests.
You'd be up there. I tend to have like a rotating roster of guys I really like to talk to. So it's like you, Brooksy, Rocky, Davis Storm, that sort of like, because you always, I could talk to these like you guys on a rotating thing like all the time and still get a really good conversation out of it. So it's kind of the way I like to do it.
Yeah, and at least it's not like you get us and then 2 weeks later you get us again, because then not much has changed in that span of time. But
No.
it's probably been a couple of years at least since the last time I was on here, so it'll be good to have the chinwag with you.
Yeah. Well, and especially now, like it's hard to say. So what were you doing for the last year? It's like nothing. It's a fair call. How did it actually feel to be back in front of that like a packed home crowd for PWA the other month? Because that was really the first sort of like nationwide big show that was first one that was televised at least around the world. That must have been really good. How was the feeling backstage, especially knowing that they got to go out in front of a packed crowd again? That must have just been like Christmas when you're given all your toys sort of thing.
Yeah, it definitely was like a feeling of that utter excitement. And I think the feeling amongst the locker room leading into it is everyone was just so like from ear to ear, they were smiling constantly because they were just so happy to be there, whether they were, in a match that evening or not. Everyone was just really psyched. And, it was a lot of hard work as the PWA events continue to be. Like as we grow, the hard work increases in terms of the backstage and the setup and all that sort of stuff. But everyone's chomping at the bit for it, which is really lucky. But I think the thing was, as it came closer to bell time and people were starting to file in, that feeling of excitement, and I can say it was the same for me going on first and opening the show against Jessica Troy. The feeling overall changed to like you could see the nerves on people. It wasn't just that you like you could see it, you could feel it, you could hear it. Just like the way that people were talking, the demeanor that they had, it changed as it got closer to like, all right, it's go time, and people were like, oh shit. This isn't the premiership where it's in front of like a locked facility with no one there. This isn't the cancel shows that we've done where it was like we had a show coming up and then last minute we had to put it at the Pro Wrestling Academy in front of no one. This is now weeks and weeks of build. Everyone's here. It's sold out. People are tuning in because it's the first time on Fight. The nerves were at an all-time high when, Jess and I had to go out there, and it hit me pretty fucking hard too, to be honest.
Yeah, and then the thing too, like as much as we all talk about it and stuff, like you can't beat that feeling of electricity that you get. You can feel it backstage when a crowd's ready for a show. It's something you can't describe it. It's just that you get that energy and that built up energy that you wouldn't have gotten on any of the premiership shows, because it was just you're going out there and there's like whoever in the crowd that you've got. You haven't really got a packed crowd like we're ready at the Factory Theatre. So that would have been just, and to have two athletes like you and Jessica to start that show, talk about setting a high bar for the rest of that card.
Yeah, I don't often like to be on first just because of my nerves getting the better of me. But it was quite fortunate that I was in a match with Jess, because I kind of went into it knowing that for once I've got like the weight and strength advantage, and that's not very often for me. Even being a junior heavyweight, like a lot of the other people that I fight in my division, here or abroad, generally have a bit more of that going for them than I do. I usually have to play up my speed and agility and my tactics. So I went into that, even though the nerves were at a high, and went, okay, cool. Yeah, like I can kind of like rest on those two things a little bit and not have to push it as hard. But yeah, I mean, she really brought out things in me that I didn't know I was capable of. And I had to switch gears a little bit and like change mindsets because of what she was doing. She's very sneaky too. She did a sequence that I do at the beginning of my matches that catches people off guard. And she caught me off guard with it. And I was super annoyed. But the only two people in the room that knew what was happening was me and her, because if you look in closely on the replay, I give her like a look when I'm on the outside. I'm like, oh, very nice. And she gives me a bit of a cheeky smile. But no one in the audience understood what was happening. And if they did, maybe they were just so gobsmacked to be there, Todd, that they were just like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I remember because I had Mitch McCarthy over to watch it. And when she did it, I've just gone, Mitch is gone, she's doing Robbie stuff. That's Robbie stuff. So how good is I'm one of the biggest champions of Jess Troy. How amazing is she? I mean, really, I put her in the top 5 wrestlers just in the country period at the moment. Like how much has she grown over the last year or so? She's
grown leaps and bounds. But if I'm being honest, Todd, like she didn't grow enough because I had that match. But if it wasn't for her besto frenemy, I don't know what they are right now, Charlie Evans, then we would have seen a different outcome for the ending of that match, and we'd probably see a title around my shoulder right now as we're talking. All that aside, she's definitely become a heck of a wrestler. She definitely took me to a limit that I didn't expect for her amount of time she's been wrestling, her experience, like her style even as well. I thought I really had a lot of the advantages. And if I was going to weigh it out in percentages, it was 60-40 my way. That's what I felt. But she really made it feel more like that 50-50, especially when she started taking it to me in the arm. And she's come up with some crafty ways to get to that arm. So the arm collector is it's not just a nickname or a moniker. That's really like a motto and lifestyle that she lives by in the ring. So credit to her. I can't wait to see where she's going to be in another year, 2 years, 5 years, because it's just going to be continual growth to growth.
You also had not long ago at Deathmatch Down Under, you worked Mark Davis, and you had Mark's last show before he went. You had his last match before he went to England, and now you sort of had his first singles match, one of his first singles match since he's come back from England and come back from injury. How much has Mark improved over that time?
Oh, man, Davis is just a beast. Dunkzilla really couldn't even like put it into words correctly, because you kind of think Dunkzilla, that's a little bit funny. And then you hear the Zilla part mostly. And then you go, oh, right. Like every time I stand up, he's flooring me down again. So like, not only has he gotten stronger, he's gotten quicker, and he's developed all these techniques in the ring that like he wouldn't have had access to before because of the opponents that he wrestled in the UK and the traveling that he got to do to like go to PWG and trips like that before his injury that sidelined him for a little bit. So he's really been working the world-class talent whilst he's been away. And, you know, he's like a sponge. I think he and I are very similar because we started, you know, about a year or so apart. We've kind of grown up together in the industry, being similar age as well. And we lean on each other, like whether he was abroad or not, we'd often like just coerce and talk about pro wrestling. And I say that I think he's a sponge because he just picks things up. Like once he's been through the fire once, he absorbs that and he tries to make himself like fire retardant. Like he doesn't want to face that fire again. So he like finds a way to like repel it. It's kind of like a Pokemon. Like he has the weakness one time and then he switches his like, he goes from grass to water. So now that shit doesn't affect him anymore. Weird analogy, I know, but that's how
yeah, well, one thing I do love about him sort of being back and being good is that now he's sort of like, he's helping as, well, he's the head trainer at 3 Count Academy up here in Queensland. He's really helping sort of give back, much like yourself do in at PWA, to younger guys and sort of bringing them along. And it's great to see the guys with experience doing that, because a lot of the times, and yourself included, before the world sort of shut down, you got taken away. And it was hard to sort of, you got, every now and then you got to come back and do some training sessions and all that, but it wasn't really anything where you could do at a sustained level like he's doing now. So that's, for yourself too, that's got to be good that you can see the growth in young wrestlers coming along, because you wouldn't have really seen it so much when you were doing back and forth tours, because you'd see a guy and you'd do a little bit of training with him, then you'd go away for 2 or 3 months and then come back, and possibly, because some people just mature so quickly in wrestling and some others don't. How has that been now that you've sort of like, you're sort of around a lot more, so you get to see them grow the way they do?
It's really special to be a coach, first of all, and then secondly, basically exactly what you're saying, like to be here for a longer period of time than I would have back in 2019, and 2020 was shaping up to be the year that I was going to be away the most. Look at it retrospectively, that's definitely the way that it would have gone, because we had things like Madison Square Garden coming up for New Japan Pro Wrestling, which would have seen me go across with the rest of the crew, and Super Juniors would have happened in the normal time around May, June. So like that would have been another stint, and then there would have, like, if I had been fortunate enough to win any championships in 2020, then that would have taken me away more, because I would have had to be there to defend those titles. So yeah, it's been very fortunate in an unfortunate situation to be home for lengthy periods, because I've seen those growths and maturities in the ring. Someone like Tommy D comes to mind, who was on the last Academy event that we held. He was one of the Green Dingoes that debuted in a tag team match with Joey Farah.
Yep.
Those two, incredible.
I love Joey Farah. He was so good.
Mate, all the Dingoes are great. You got Streamer, you've got Pigeon, you've got Marshall. Those five boys turn up so frequently. Streamer had been, dealing with a knee injury for the better part of 2020, but sometimes he'd even come to training sessions just to sit there and soak in the knowledge, which is great, which is what you want, because he didn't want to miss out. He wanted to make sure that even though he would be behind in classes, he was still able to keep up with everyone else that was in his, his core class group. But yeah, seeing Tommy, because he's the latest recruit into the Dingo class, seeing where he started to where he's gone, and I got to have a few one-on-one sessions with him right up to that match. Man, it's incredible. It's an incredible feeling as a coach to like see that, feel it, and then be a part of that moment for them, because the Academy events are often mostly family and friends. That's the design of them, because they're more of a smaller spectacle of showcase for those guys. So of course they get, like, when they're coming up to their first or second or even their first big match, they get all their family and friends around to cheer them on, because how better way to get through the punishment of wrestling someone like back pain, for instance, but having your friends and family telling you can do it, kind of like in the Adam Sandler movies, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's awesome. I love being a coach for that very reason. And I get to see that even from a class perspective as well. It's just seeing those small improvements. Like if someone can't quite nail this one technique, and then the next week they might not still be there, but they're getting closer and you can see the wheels are turning for them. That really warms my heart, because I was in that position once upon a time.
Yeah.
So I just see myself in them, and I'm like, all right, don't give up, because if they have dreams and aspirations of a WWE, a New Japan, an AEW, an Impact, Mexico for CMLL or AAA, or wherever it is that they want to go. Maybe they want to follow the footsteps of Mark Davis when the borders open again. Maybe they want to go through a dojo system. I don't know what all their aspirations is, but if they have those aspirations, looking to people like myself, like Mark Davis, like Billy Kate and Peyton Royce, who came from the same very school, I want them to understand that, there are hard times and they're usually more frequent than the good times, but to see those progressions in their training and to see them get better bit by bit, I want them to go, hey, what's your goal? Stay focused at it, because you can get it as long as you stick at it here.
Yeah. And it is like, because I don't really get so much side into the wrestling side of it. If I'm helping people, it's more the psychology side of it. But when you see that switch go, where you can see him during a match recognize something, and you're like, you did that because you saw that coming. Yeah, because we talked about it before. That to me is one of the best feelings, and it's probably the best feeling I could have, being that I'll never actually be a wrestler. So knowing that I've helped someone grow that bit more just is what makes it all worth it, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you're coming from a point of wanting to bring up the next generation, that's what we want, right? Like we don't want to hold them back. We want to see them flourish and go forward. So yeah, you're spot on with that.
You went over for the there was a Super Juniors, or was it the tag before? Just recently, can't remember.
The most recent trip I did was for the Best of the Super Juniors.
That's
October.
Yeah,
November it started. Sorry.
Yeah, how is that with the quarantine and all of that, like, did you had to, I guess you would have had to leave the 2 weeks early just to be able to just do that. And how did you keep your mindset going when you're sitting because you're sitting, it's not like you're sitting in a home hotel where everything's sort of familiar to you, if you know what I mean. You got your newspapers and all of that sort of thing. You're in Japan where everything is different. How did you go for those 2 weeks, sort of like keeping your mindset and keeping your training up when you're sort of quarantined?
I think for me, it was pretty easy to stay in the right mindset because I knew what my purpose was there. Like I knew that I was here to do best of the Super Juniors. I was here to perform in New Japan Pro Wrestling again for the first time since February of that same year. So it was, majority of the year had passed by. We're in October, so 8 months on. Now I'm back in the country, and I had a month in between. So I got there midway through October, quarantined for 2 weeks, and then I still had about a 2-week gap before I had to wrestle my first match as part of the Super Juniors tour. There were bleak times. There was definitely some bleak times of like, oh man, like, what am I doing? And like that would come and go because I was so focused on, once I was there, I was there. I was in it because I don't have my fridge. I don't have my PlayStation. I don't have all these things that like are almost distractions, but like, welcoming distractions. Like my wife's not here with me, so I can't just cuddle up to her and watch a movie in bed and be a bit lazy that day. I have to like, all right, is it 6 o'clock? Okay, it's not late yet. Do I still have energy? Sure, let's go to the gym for a second time kind of thing. So I just persevered as much as I could and got through it the best that I could. And there's definitely a progression from like the start of the Super Juniors. I did that first match and I was kind of like, ooh, I'm not in the shape that I thought I should be. I felt ready, but like maybe not quite because the competition's going to be pretty fierce because all these guys are looking at me as the only foreigner in this tournament. And I'm almost like an intruder to all of them, whether they like me or hate me. So they didn't go easy on me by any stretch of the means because they're like, we've been here the whole time. What's this guy doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to progress as I went the whole time as well. But I think the toughest part was coming out of the quarantine and then having those extra 2 weeks before I got to get in the ring. That was pretty tough because I was like, okay, now what? Like I'm out of the quarantine now, freedom. Oh, but I don't wrestle for another 2 weeks. I was like, damn, I got to keep this same. I got to imagine I'm still quarantining because like I got to stay focused and driven so that I'm ready.
So were you able to get to a ring at all in that time to just sort of like run some ropes, do some like get some like, because, and it's an age old tale, in-ring cardio is so different to every other cardio you can get, and you can't really replicate that until you're in the ring and actually doing it. So did you get anywhere near a ring before then just to be able to sort of knock a little bit of rust off?
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to have the, I keep saying fortunate. I'm so fortunate. People are going to think this guy is so full of it.
Well, at least you're grateful. Well, you're grateful, mate. That's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
I should have used grateful. I was grateful to have access to the New Japan dojo. So
fortunately grateful.
That could be a nickname for someone. The fortunate grateful one. Not the great one, the grateful one.
Yeah.
I digress. I had access to the New Japan dojo. So I was able to go there a couple of times before the first match with Doki in the tournament and, get the ring rust out a little bit. The difference between me and a lot of the other foreigners that were coming from, say, the UK or the US is everything was fairly shut down for them, right? Like they had pretty extreme lockdowns or they just had nothing going on before those guys came back for the G1 and stuff like that. Whereas I had a match for PWA at the Pro Wrestling Academy the day before I flew out because I had the 6-man tag with Team HVWA, CJ Phoenix and Matt Diamond against the Nations. That was literally the evening before I flew out. I flew out the next day. And because after the initial lockdowns in Sydney, I was still at the Pro Wrestling Academy more frequently than I had ever been. So even if I had gone through those 4 weeks before that first match in Japan and didn't get into a ring, I still think I would have been okay because I was still training at home and still wrestling and getting the ring rust out. So yeah, that's something that I look back at fondly and go, I'm kind of lucky that I wasn't anywhere else in the world getting stuck or having the issues that a lot of other places had because Australia kind of did so well with it in patches.
Yeah,
matches.
yeah. How different is the sort of the level between? And I know that the New Japan is the best in the world, but how far? I don't want to say how far behind. How close is the Australian product getting to the say the New Japan product now? So when you travel from say here to there, it's not a hell of a culture, like a hell of a change in pace, if you will.
Yeah, we're not far. Overall, we're not far. I think those that are around me frequently, it kind of rubs off on them because every time I go, I bring back the experience that I had. And that's why I love working for New Japan Pro Wrestling and being able to come home after tours is I literally go, hey, here's all the things that I stuffed up and these are the reasons I lost matches. Don't do this. And I teach those lessons that I've kind of taken on myself to everyone else at the Pro Wrestling Academy or even to other opponents of mine. Like when I use something that I picked up on in Japan to beat someone, generally I'm a pretty nice guy. So you have to make me pretty angry to like hate you and not talk to you after the match, even if I've just, we've gone toe to toe for 20 minutes, beating the shit out of each other. I'll probably still offer some advice afterwards to be like, hey, maybe you could do this next time and you might like get closer to beating me kind of thing. So because of that, I feel like the Australian scene is really getting closer to that level of competition that I face overseas for New Japan. But definitely being over there and being entrenched in that environment in that locker room is just something in itself. So as much as we'll get closer, unless we're actually wrestling with that locker room and in that dojo system as constant as they all are, I don't think we'll ever get to that level specifically, but we'll be bordering it. We'll be edging real close and like knocking on the door saying, hey, we're here. Which is what I wish which is why I wish the pandemic would just piss off and get better already, because I really feel like it's the time for that Australia-Japan relationship to strengthen because of how much the talent is like salivating at the opportunity to wrestle those guys.
See, yeah, I'm with you on that, but I kind of like the fact that we're getting a head start on the rest of the world being able to put on shows at the moment. It's sort of like we're getting a pre-season ahead of what they're not getting.
But in all other countries, Japan's probably the closest to us because they've been having the audience back probably before we did. It's just they have harsher restrictions in terms of like they have to wear a mask and they can't make any noise. They can only clap, but they're still there and they're constantly going.
Yeah, and the good thing about Japan is that like basically they've had that mask mandate. Well, not mandate so much, but like they've been in the habit of wearing masks for years. So it wasn't really I don't think it would have been that big a thing from the say, well, now you have to wear the masks. Whereas I've noticed other places around the world kick up a real fuss about it. Whereas Japan's just like, yeah, cool, we've been doing this for, whatever. So it's
kind of like most people would be like, oh, but I only wear it on Tuesday. So I guess I just wear it every day now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like when it was sort of in up here, I was just like, well, I really don't care. What does it matter? It's not really affecting my life a hell of a lot, except for just like having an itchy beard a lot more. That's about it.
Yeah.
So, you sort of, you joined with Bullet Club. You sort of left Bullet Club to go with Chaos to tag up with Will Ospreay, and then Will Ospreay sort of turns on Chaos. Did that sort of feel like, because you guys had the Birds of Prey tag team sort of really, there was a point there where everyone was thinking you guys are going for the junior tags. Did you feel like the sort of the rug got pulled out from under you with that sort of happening?
I don't think it was so much Will's defection, or I guess not defection. The way I look at it is he's always looked out for Will Ospreay because he's like me, he's so focused and determined on being the best. And everyone that he's ever met knows that. Like he wants to be the best. So that's why he kind of did everything he did, or that's how I'm interpreting it. The thing that actually pulled the rug from underneath us as a tag team is he got too heavy. He put on too much weight.
Yeah.
And he wasn't in the junior division anymore. So, I mean, power to him. He won the Rev Pro British heavyweight title not long after. And that was me going, oh, well, I guess we're just a specialty tag team whenever we get the opportunity to do it on, the occasional smaller show for New Japan, or if we do an indie in the US or the UK or back in Australia, we can do like a dream match kind of thing. But in terms of consistent tag competition, that Birds of Prey was pretty short-lived.
Yeah. Well, did it sort of make you turn your own focus to going for the more the singles route for the juniors, or are you still sort of like you'd like to do the tags? Because I know you say maybe even to bring like a Matt Diamond with you for Lightspeed Express, and to do to do that, because I think if you had Lightspeed Express in Japan, they would absolutely love you guys.
Yeah, the shit thing is, though, they'd love Matt Diamond and throw me away, because everyone does that. When they see Matt Diamond for the first time, they go, "Oh, he's really awesome. What were you doing, Robbie? Get out." That's a dream of mine to bring Matt over to New Japan and be a part of the junior tag division there. I think that would be insane. That would be bonkers. And he's so underrated still. Because he's been at it for so long, and yeah, he had a gap where he wasn't wrestling for a couple of years because he had to, rehab himself and get the injury sorted. But he's been in it since, Australian wrestling really came to prominence again in the 2017, 2018 period. And he's one of those guys that just flies under the radar because he's so good. So I'd love to, get the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag titles with Matt Diamond. But I have plenty of other partners that I could choose from as well. Rocky Romero is still in Chaos. He and I have had a tag match before, and we actually fared quite well against ELP and Ishimori, who were the champs at the time. And then you've got Sho, who he and I have this crazy chemistry, but we haven't been able to really show it off in a tag format alongside each other yet. But we have so many things in common. We play Tekken against each other. So there's that common kind of like online gaming rivalry, in-ring rivalry that we have amongst brothers that I think would form a good tag team. But Will moving to heavyweight set the scene for me. And that was him basically giving me the pat on the back to say, hey, now it's your turn. Like I've been there, and I'm moving to a new goal of being a heavyweight wrestler and going for those titles. Now, it wasn't like he was giving me permission. He was just saying, now it's your turn. Like I'm not standing in the way anymore. So definitely that's my focus. But any opportunity that comes my way, if I get any victories over any of the champions, even if it's for the Never Championship, that's open to everyone. I'll take on Tanahashi if I have to. I'll feel quite sad about beating him up, but I'll do it if that's the opportunity that presents itself.
Yeah, the Show you mentioned Show is one of my favorite workers for New Japan. I can see so much of a future in that guy, that anytime he loses, I'm just like, oh, come on, let him go, let him do this. I see so much in the guy. He's like, he reminds me of the young, like Tanahashi, young, just like that coming up sort of thing. And you could see, I can't remember what I was talking to, but I said in the next 5 years, I can see him being one of those guys that they talk about when they talk about like Okada, that upper echelon. I can see him breaking through eventually.
Yeah, he's so good. Sho is so good. I got to train with him a couple times at the dojo, which was really nice, just to have like sparring sessions in between the Super Juniors tournament. And the match that we had against each other is one of my favorites of all time. Just because I knew the determination that both of us were going to have about, all right, so which one of us gets the bragging rights for at least another year here until the next tournament rolls around? And it was me, which was awesome. But man, he hits hard, and he does some stuff that I don't even know how it's possible, just because of the way that his mind works for this industry. And he really hones in on things like the jiu-jitsu side of stuff, because he's practiced in that before. So his submission game has really stepped up in the last 2 years, because one of his inspirations was Kushida. So he kind of looked at Kushida's path, and he's following along that same sort of trajectory.
Yeah, you can see that when you watch him work, that Kushida is a strong influence in him too.
Yeah, it makes it easy to not fall for the arm work, especially having wrestled Jessica Troy just recently. I ain't letting anything happen to this anytime soon. I'm telling you that now, Todd.
PWA have got a really strong like tag division with Velocities. You've got yourself, Matt Diamond when you guys team up for Lightspeed Express. I suppose you've got the other half with Matt Diamond when he teams up with Matt Rogers. That whole thing as well. And now Aussie Open have joined the ranks that are after Velocities. Could you see an Aussie Open I could definitely see a Velocities. Could you see an Aussie Open as well, like making that trip to Japan?
They were pretty much there. Like they did Royal Quest in the UK and they earned that shot.
That's right.
They won. It was like, I'm pretty sure it was an ongoing tournament. And the night before for Rev Pro, Summer Sizzler in 2019, the night before Royal Quest, they beat, I think it was Shah Samuels and Josh Bodum. And that earned them their spot to wrestle GOD for the heavyweight tag titles at Royal Quest. So they've basically put their foot in the door, but for whatever reason, the door shut. Like it didn't stay open. It didn't quite wedge. But it's still open a crack, I reckon. So I reckon that little bit of light that they can see, that's all they need. The timing of Davis's injury probably wasn't ideal, but I reckon that's definitely something that could be in their future. It's just up to them if that's where they want to go, because they, like we were talking about before, depends on the people's aspirations. It depends on them as individuals and as a tag. Like, what do they want to do? Seems like at the moment they're focused on the Velocities and maybe getting the PWA tag titles, which would be awesome to see because Kyle Fletcher is an OG of PWA, and so is Mark Davis. He is an OG of PWA because the first time I went and sat in the crowd for PWA, Mark Davis was on the card.
Yeah, because even like, you don't even realize how big Kyle is because he's always standing next to Mark, but Kyle's an absolute monster as well.
Yeah, and the problem is, even when he was younger, he was the hardest hitter in training. And now that he's put on size, it's like that theory of people that don't know their own strength. That's him times 1,000 because he hits you and you go, this tall unit shouldn't be sending me flying this far back. But he is. And all I can see, and it's the same thing. This is a problem that I have, even when like I've told people the story about like when I'm around other people. Say I'm with Osprey out in Japan a couple of years ago, and Tony came out and had dinner with us. And I'm just talking about like I'm saying funny things because I'm talking about how I only see Tony as like the teenage girl that would rock up to my seminars early days in Queensland. That's how I view these people, no matter how big they get. No matter how much their look or body changes, or like, yeah, of course they're going to be closer to my age now, but I'm still a generation above these people. So all I see is these bright-eyed, bushy-tailed people walking into pro wrestling thinking, oh, here's my dream one day. And, you know, Tony's killing it and Kyle's killing it and all these kids are killing it, but they're, you know, closer to being proper full-on middle-aged adults now, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, Kyle's a beast, and it's only going to continue to go upwards as he gets older because he's going to do the same thing that we've seen people like Will Ospreay do, is increase the weight training, keep his check, and if he does that and he stays fit and healthy, man, like he's going to be a juggernaut in the future. Yeah,
see, I'm the same way with you with Rhea or Demi. Yep. I still see Demi as that young kid that come in.
Yeah.
Wearing soccer shorts.
Yeah, well, I remember her coming to shows that we'd be on. So like it's the same thing for me. Like all these people that I've seen once upon a time when they were like yay high. It's crazy to see where they are now. But like you got to be proud of them, you know what I mean? Because they're achieving their goals. They're doing what they set out to do, and they're doing it. It's the same way that I look at Peyton Royce and Billy Kay, you know, two of my closest friends in the industry. And it was really sad to see them go when they left, but it was also awesome to see how much they've achieved. And, you know, back when I was still BC for life, Gino Gambino and I actually got to witness them win the tag titles at WrestleMania in person. And that was incredible. So yeah, it's cool to see these people grow, but they're still always going to be those little toddlers to me in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm really hoping to see after that promo that Peyton had the other day. I'm really hoping that they give her a good chance on Raw because
well, she's earned it.
That was such a good promo. I'm just like, finally, give her a shot. Because it feels like there's that ceiling there and they're not letting people break through it from a certain...
I feel like one way to get her fiery and passionate is have me annoy her on a car trip for 3 hours, because that's all it reminded me of, is like when she's gotten really annoyed and angry at me driving to Canberra and back, and then I've pushed one button too far and then she's just turned and let me have it. I'm like, all right, I'm listening. Fair enough. That was what she did on Raw the other day.
Jeez. So I take it you've been watching the New Japan Cup fairly closely.
Yes, always watching it from my couch when I'm at home, because I need to be ready for whatever I'm facing when I get back there.
So who's your pick for who's your pick for the final, and who's your pick for the winner?
That's really hard. So I think as we talk, we've probably got one of the nights coming up right now, and
as we're talking, we're down to the final 8. So it's Evil, Toru Yano, Shingo, Kenta, Will, Sonata, David Finlay, and Jay White.
Right. So there's like, if you ask for who I'm picking and who I think will win, they're kind of different answers. Of course, I want to go with Yano because he's my boy in Chaos, and no one would see it coming, right? Like he gets some victories that people don't expect, but I don't think people would think that he'd take out the cup. But he's very much the kind of person that could. And the reason I like Yano, and the reason we get along, is he's a tactician like me, just in a very different style. He plants the seeds for these things, and he's always thinking on his feet. So he's quite clever. Just looking at history, I definitely think Will is someone that could go all the way because he's got all the tools. And then again, looking at history, you know, I've been alongside Jay White before, so I know what he's capable of and the cunning that he has going into all these matches. It's really unpredictable, Todd. I can't tell you who I think is going to take out the whole thing. I'm really excited to see the matches unfold for these final 8. I think Kenta and Shingo is going to be a banger.
Oh, yeah. There.
And whoever wins that could quite possibly be the person to take it all out. But again, my heart is going to rest with Yano because, you know, I've got loyalty on the line here.
Yeah, see, I haven't had a chance to catch Kenta and Suzuki yet, so I was hoping to do that tonight after we talk. But I'm dead set ready to watch that match. And then also you talk about Will. You also don't know how this broken nose might affect him going forward. If that's what happened, because it looked pretty brutal.
It's definitely broken. Yeah, I've heard it firsthand. It's broken, and it was, yeah. I do not wish that upon my worst enemy because it's pretty fucked up to see how it happened.
Yeah. Oh, geez. We'll just go back quick because you've been fairly flat out in Australia for the last couple of weeks. How's it been traveling to all these? Because some of them have been new, like Deathmatch Down Under. I think you did. Did you do Suplex?
I sure did.
Yeah, you did Suplex as well. So how is it like seeing these newer feds come up since you've been away, really?
It's been fun for me to be a part of these promotions that I normally wouldn't get around to. Again, because of the time that I have on my hands. And lots of people are kind of like, hey, why wouldn't you just, you know, train but stay at home and kind of just keep your body healthy and happy and ready for whenever you go to Japan next, rather than take these matches that you might not necessarily need to take. And that's just not me. Like, I can't sit still. It's like I've got ADHD. I probably do have it and just not diagnosed. But for me, it's that I still have that same excitement of my first day in a pro wrestling ring. Every day I wake up when I know I get to be a pro wrestler, and the thriving feel of competition in this country right now is what drives me to go to these places. It's people reaching out to me and saying, hey, we've got a spot for you. Here's a match opportunity. Do you want to take it? And I go, yes, of course. Even if I'm not too sure of who the opponent is because I'm more unfamiliar with them, or they're quite new to the scene and I haven't quite seen what they're capable of through, you know, videos online or even in person on mixed cards before. But going to places like FWA, to Suplex, being a part of Deathmatch Down Under's second official show with a live attendance. You know, it's really great to see pro wrestling thriving, and to see the different fans. There's crossovers, like especially in the promotions I've worked for in New South Wales, you definitely get crossovers, but then you also get just those fans for that promotion. And that's really cool for me to see. Walking out to Suplex Pro, it was very much like all the locker room were like, hey, Robbie, we know who you are, blah, blah, blah. I go out there and I go, oh, this audience doesn't really know who I am, because they're just Suplex Pro Wrestling fans. They're not necessarily all of pro wrestling fans. And that's actually cool. Like, I enjoy that experience because I get to teach them my entire story from ding ding. And I love that. I love meeting new people. And if I can hook them, if they come up and say that I impressed them and they buy a t-shirt or they get something at the merch stand or they just ask for a photo, then I think I've done a good job. And what I hope that does is keeps them coming back, or makes them go to more pro wrestling. And it's not about trying to take their money from their wallets. I just want them to be invested in what we do as a country. Even if it's them sharing a video that gets posted on YouTube or Facebook, that can go a long way, because that could bring the next person to a show for the first time. So that's all I'm about, is this growth of Australian wrestling. And I probably said it the last time I spoke to you, Todd, when you're like, what are your goals and ambitions and blah, 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 all that stuff, right? All that good stuff. I always say that I want Australia to be the destination. And as if it's not right now with how good we're doing with everything, right? Like, all the people in the US and the UK and all these other countries are like banging on the door going, let me in, I want to wrestle in Australia. And it's like, too late, you waited too late, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. But that's my goal, that's my dream. I want it to be the place where people come. I want it to be a place where New Japan Young Lions do their excursions. That's like a big one now that I didn't have before, but it's now on the bucket list. And once I can make that happen, if I can set any foundation to make that happen, I will. And trust me, that's why whenever I'm in Japan, I'm at the dojo, I'm like, all right, who are we sending over next, guys? Where are they going? All right, you're not going to let me know? All right, I'll just keep asking until you send them my way and I can annoy them here 24/7.
The one thing I do love too is that, being that PWA are on Fight now, and same with PCW, anyone who's opening that Fight app to watch, say the New Japan, the American Strong series, they're watching the New Japan other stuff, that you're watching AEW, watching Impact, the pay-per-views, they're opening up that Fight app, and PWA is there, and PCW are there, and it's for me, as someone who's been working in Australian wrestling for near on 10 years now, it really makes me feel so good to see that, because it makes me feel like we're on a level now where we've taken that step that we've been threatening to take for the last 5 years. And now it finally looks like we're getting to that place now where people see it as, like you said before, a destination where they want to come to wrestle, because they can see it's not only a good holiday for them, they're going to have some great matches and possibly get themselves exposed more to the world. And with the one thing I do like about hearing when I know you're traveling to like a Suplex or a FWA or something like that, when I see that you're there, but then I also see a invitation to a seminar that you're doing as well. So it means that they're saying, look, we want you to come because you're one of the best wrestlers in the world. We want you to do, but we also want you to help teach our guys. We want our guys to get better, not just the guys you're going to work, but also just those guys in the roster that want to get better. That's got to be good for you to know that you're in that place now where they say, come and help us.
Yeah, I have always loved teaching, and I have expressed it every opportunity I've got, that if I get the opportunity, I say the same words.
If you're fortunate enough to have that opportunity.
I'm grateful to have that opportunity. But yeah, like having the ability to go to these places, and because my schedule's a little bit more flexible than, say, other wrestlers in this country who might not be doing it full time yet. I say yet. Because of that flexibility, I have more time to give back in those ways, as long as I'm given the time by the promotion, or by the training schools associated with that promotion, or by the people actually attending it. Because, there's been times where I've put these things on and, only a couple of people have shown up. That's definitely years and years ago that was more of a memory. But yeah, it's really special to me to be able to do that. And again, much like my own students, even if I meet someone for the first time at these seminars and then I see them just make that one change or make that one advancement, I'm like, yes, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm teaching this right now. It's not for my benefit. I don't want to hear my voice for the whole 2-3 hours. I want to hear you guys asking questions, and I want to hear like feedback from doing something that I've instructed, or I want to just like basically have the ability to not give you feedback because you did so well at what I just kind of asked of you. That's really incredible to me. And it happens quite frequently. And going back to when I last did a string of seminars, which was probably 2, 3, maybe 4 years ago, consistently, seeing the ones that I've done now for, say, DMDU, at Suplex, I've got some others coming up in the pipeline too. The advancement of the students overall is so much higher than what it used to be. Like, I don't have to spend as much time on some of the more basic techniques because all the schools are doing better.
Yeah.
There's definitely still some stuff that I like to crisp up and brush up on because the small things are really important to me, as much as people would think otherwise with my wrestling. But if you put my matches at like half speed or like even lower than that, you'll see how intricate I am with like movements and footwork and positioning. And then that's what I harp on at these seminars, because I'm not here to reinvent the wheel and teach you a bunch of moves that you're going to forget before the day's done. I'm here to go, here's the things you already know. I'm going to make them more effortless for you. I'm going to make them more snug. I'm going to make them better so that you guys can win more matches, so that you guys can get more bookings, so that you can be a better performer overall, rather than just adding this new trick, but it has no substance. So that's really special to me. And, if and when the day comes that I can't be an active performer in the ring anymore, I 100% want to be able to coach full time, wherever that path may take me, whether it's in Japan, whether it's here in Australia, whether it's somewhere else. But that's definitely the long-term goal of mine past my time in ring as an active performer.
Well, I know for a fact that just when you were up here doing seminars was one of the reasons why Xander Sullivan decided he was going to move to Sydney to be more like in that PWA, that because it was also you, Mick Moretti was coming up and doing seminars as well. And I think that's what he's like, well, if I want to be one of the best, I need to go where the best are training. So, and like with you going to do seminars, all those PWA guys, like you guys, Bonza, everyone that goes and does those seminars, I just love the fact that you're all out there helping everyone. Whereas 5-6 years ago, that probably wouldn't have been the case. Everyone was very much insular and sort of like, we're making our stuff good. And now I love the way that the philosophy's changed, where we're going to make everyone good.
Yeah. I mean, if we make the whole country better, do we not all rise up together and rise up higher than we are? Because we could hit a ceiling in New South Wales as like a New South Wales scene, because maybe Victoria's not up there yet, and maybe Queensland's not up there yet, or maybe Western Australia's not up there yet. So we're it's not that we're being held back by those guys, but there's only a certain plateau that we're going to hit. Whereas if we're like, what's the rising tide? Rising tide raises all ships.
Yes.
Right. So our tide in New South Wales will only get yay high, because then it'll start spilling over to the other borders. But then if we bring the whole tide of the whole country up, then all of our ships go like this, and we go up and onwards, and then everyone gets so much better, and then competition's harder. And then my matches go 30 minutes, and then it takes longer to beat even the simplest person. And then I get frustrated and leave. And that's when I'll be happy once and for all. But, so you got guys like Damian Slater giving it away for free online. Like, the like-minded people that are in this industry locally, like Slater, like myself, like anyone else, like Mick doing seminars, Mick and I coach one-on-one at the Pro Wrestling Academy. And what I say every time I go to these seminars, where I'm teaching people from different schools, and they might have that not animosity, but they feel like, oh, I can't go there because I'm here. These are the 3 letters I represent because I don't represent, like, I don't, that's still very much a thing. Like, as much as we've tried to change the culture, it's still a thing that happens. And I don't even think it's intentional a lot of the times by, their coaches or their training school or their promotion. It's just kind of, it's what like, and if you're not taught that, hey, just go everywhere and anywhere, then it's not open to you. But whenever I do these seminars and when I talk to these people, I go, you're more than welcome to contact me after this now because you have my details, because we've probably discussed in a group chat or some form of like having me on Facebook or something to arrange the seminar. So please reach out to me with any questions you have. If you want me to review a match, I can do that. If you want me to review any training footage, I can do that. If you want to book in time with me and you can get to the Pro Wrestling Academy, again, I'm very flexible. So if you want to do one-on-one sessions or small group classes, 100% Nick and I can do that. Or if you want me to come to your school, I can do that. It's just people need to be not afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah.
I'm an open book. The worst thing I can say is, no, I can't do that because, and there's usually a reason, not, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Because I've already said on this podcast, that is what I want to do. So I can't go backwards, you know what I mean? But I just want all of Australian wrestling to know, like, I don't have to come in and wrestle a match and take a booking. They could just bring me in to teach if they wanted to. That's completely up to them. But people need to ask these questions.
Yeah. And I think anyone at the moment around the country or around the world, anyone around the world that doesn't encourage their students to learn from as many places as they can is really doing their students a disservice, because they'll never be as well-rounded as, and I understand the idea of maybe they don't want them to go in case they don't come back. But if you're offering a good training and a good environment, they're always going to come back to train.
Yep.
All they're going to do is come back with more knowledge and go, well, I picked this up at this place. Like with Nick Armstrong down in RCW. I learned this at Lance Storms. And I'm sure you're the same. Like, I learned this at the dojo. It's just a matter of just letting people go and spread their wings. And I've always said, like, you have to learn as many tools as you can to put into your toolbox. And then you can help fix other people if they need it.
Yeah. So if anyone's along that same train of thought and like what you're speaking of and like how I feel, they would do the same thing. Because that's me. Like, even when I've partaken in seminars, which is, part of what got me into New Japan Pro Wrestling, was venturing off to New Zealand and going to the Fale Dojo. And the first time I ever traveled to New Zealand, I was there less than 24 hours because I traveled, got in the day of the seminar, checked into my hotel, went to the seminar, did the seminar, went out to eat afterwards, hung out for a little bit with some IPW New Zealand mates. I think it was Liam Fury and Kingy. And the next morning flew back and went straight to work because I still had a day job at that point. But like, those are the things that you have to do to get better and to like, or go to where you want to get to. For Xander, it was moving to Sydney to be a part of that PWA group so that he could get his foot in the door. And look, he had the match with Ricky just recently, and that was his first major opportunity. You know what I mean? And that's not going to get overlooked. Like, that's definitely going to be remembered because he had a match with the guy that's now the PWA champion, a couple of weeks before. That's really important and significant. But it's all about bringing back the experience that you have from elsewhere to grow your home base, even if you have left for a period of time. And more often than not, people train where they train initially because it's usually the closest place to them. So if they did come to another school, it's probably more out of the way more often than not. So they're still going to come back to their home school anyway because it's more convenient for them.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always, every couple of years or whatever when we catch up. It's good to talk.
I'll put it on my calendar for this time in 2 years.
Yeah, there you go. For people that don't already, how can they follow you and catch up? And, of course, you've got wrestlermerch.com for all your merch pretty much. How can they follow you on socials and be able to find out when the next time you're heading over to New Japan again and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, don't ask me in person because that's a really annoying question to ask at the merch table. So when are you going to Japan again? You'll know pretty much right after I know. So just hold out for that. Online, they can find me at Robbie Eagles _ on basically everything. I believe it's just Robbie Eagles on Facebook, but I'm not that active on that anymore. But Instagram and Twitter for sure. Yes, I have a wrestler merch store. I also have pro wrestling tees for anyone that's listening from outside of Australia. And you can also visit headshotfightteam.bigcartel.com for the last little bits of stock that I'm holding on to that I've been flogging at the most recent shows that I've been a part of. I have one size small black t-shirt, Flight Forever, that I've been trying to get rid of since 2019. Someone please take it off my hands, because everyone keeps asking, you got that in an XL? You got that in a large? And no, I don't got that in an XL. I don't got that in a large, but I got it in a small for one lucky listener.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, we're not really the small type of a crowd. I think it's mostly
your words, not mine, Todd.
No, well, I'm one of the brotherhood, so it's fine. I can say that. Thank you so much for joining us, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Once again, big thanks to my guest, Robbie Eagles. Thank you so much for coming on, mate. I know we had to jump through a few hoops to get this happening, but I'm so glad you got to come on again and we got to have a chat, and I hope to do it again in the near future. If you do check him out in a local show, go and buy that small t-shirt so he can finally get it off his books and move on to more merch. Once again, though, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to WRA. It's free. You can do it on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts from, we're there. Please go and check us out. Give us a rating and review if you're on Apple Podcasts, or 5 stars. Help us get inside more ears, gets the word out, helps us spread the word about professional wrestling in this country. Also, make sure you like us on Facebook. Just search out Wrestle Radio Australia, or on Twitter at Wrestle Radio AU, or me personally at Beast Eastman. If you want to support the local industry, subscribe to one of the streaming services or support the wrestlers themselves. You can support the wrestlers themselves, or a lot of them anyway, by going to Wrestler Merch. I know we talked about it on the podcast with Robbie. Wrestler Merch doing great things for professional wrestlers in this country, helping them get their merch out, helping them find another revenue stream to make a little bit of money aside from actually having to wrestle, I guess. It's a good way for those guys, and it's a good way for you if you, especially with the PWA guys, if you like watching them, like watching their work, go to Wrestler Merch and buy a t-shirt and support them. And also, if you wear a t-shirt, it goes out, people see it out, they ask, what's the t-shirt about? You can tell them, Australian Professional Wrestling, it's awesome. Go and check it out. They're on Fight TV, they're on AWN, they're on MCW On Demand. Go and check this guy out. He's awesome, blah, blah, blah. All that helps. Everything we can do to help professional wrestling grow in this country, I want you guys to do. There's not too much way to support this podcast as a thing, because pretty much anything, I've got t-shirts and stuff like that on Redbubble, but anything we make off that, the proceeds of that go to help Gotcha for Life and Beyond Blue, which are two charities that we really do support here at Wrestle Radio Australia, ones that are very close to my heart. So that's anything you buy off those from Facebook and from Redbubble, go to support those two charities, because let's face it, that's just what I want to do, to be honest with you. I'm fine with sort of footing the bill for everything for this show. If it means I can make some money, if I make some money from this show, I'm quite happy for it to go to a charity and help those guys out, because at the moment I'm doing fine. So I don't really need to try and make the money from it that way. I would like extra money, but it is what it is in this country and with the show. So, and to be honest with you, I just feel really good about doing that. I feel really good about trying to support these charities that support men's health, and now I think Gotcha for Life has moved into more of a complete like mental health area where it's men and women. So, and that can only benefit everyone. So, hats off to those guys, because I'm not wearing a hat. We'll see, because I always wear the hat. I'm blathering on. Anyway, my guest next week is actually Del Cano, who's I don't know if you saw this week, but on Twitter and on Instagram, I believe he put up a post about some grievances he's had with a promotion in Perth, NHPW. So I'm going to get him on this week, and we're going to talk about just some of the things, and maybe delve a little bit deeper into why he finally spoke out about it, and just to get into the nuts and bolts on that. And I've also asked NHPW if they want to have somebody on the show, like management or someone from the office and that, so they can put their side of the story across, because I don't want to just show one side of the story. I would rather show both sides of the story. So, because what they always say is there's always two sides to a story, and somewhere in the middle is the truth. So hopefully, having heard one side, we'll hear another side. Then people can decide for themselves what the go is. So that is what's happening next week on WRA. Until then, it's my opinion. You're entitled to it. We'll see you next week right here, Wrestle Radio Australia. See you guys.
Let's be busy 23, got me feeling way too sweet. Yeah. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, pour another cup. Let's be busy 23.